like there's on here that I think is among their best stuff ever. And that, if you can do that with a reunion album, yeah, even if the rest of it isn't like, monumental, if you can pull out, in this case, for me, it's like 3 of like what I feel like my favorite Jesus Lizard songs ever. Yeah, I'll take it. Welcome to Every Album Ever with Mike and Knox, the podcast where we listen to every single album in the world, one artist at a time. It's usually a whole new discography per episode, except for these EAE singles episodes where we're covering something brand new. My name is Mike Mansour. I'm joined, as always, by my preppy co-host, Alexander Volts. He's not really preppy. Say hello.
Hello.
And what are we discussing today?
We're discussing the brand new album from the Jesus Lizard, Rack, after 26 years. It's we got back! A new album.
They're back. Check out our full episode on the Jesus Lizard that we did a good while ago, and Scratch Acid while you're at it, and Rape Man while you're at it. All these members, and screw it, Big Black, anybody on Touch and Go. We have a whole Touch and Go playlist. So go check that out. Even though this is not on Touch and Go.
No, but even Dazzling Killmen, where David Sims recorded an amazing sounding live album.
Sure did. That was just last week. And the Jesus Lizard, I didn't see this one coming. I mean, I never saw this one coming.
Yeah, I don't know how the members feel about each other, but it did kind of feel like it was in the like Smiths Galaxy 500 territory.
What does that mean? Check out some of the Smiths,
or like a cool lineup, a Black Flag, where it's just like it's never going to happen.
Yeah, I knew that they weren't on bad terms because there were several reunions. Although I believe, if I'm not misremembering, they refused to call them reunions. What do they call them? They called them reenactment shows, which I think is, I mean, it's a very cute way of saying a reunion show, really. But
it is.
But there were several over the course of the past 15, 20 years. There's a handful. And I remember the last time I missed it, which was like in, I don't know, 2014, something, 2015. I don't remember. Frankly, I probably pulled that number out of my ass. But here and there, just like a few one-off reunions. And I missed them every single time. I'm probably going to miss them on this one, honestly. But never would have guessed an album.
I already missed them because they played, I think they're playing LA again next year.
Next year in May.
Okay, yeah, I need to get to, but they played this punk festival called the No Values. That's right. Yes, I had no money and no energy to do that anyways. So
it was a punk festival, but it had like
it is a crazy lineup,
amazing bands. I mean,
yeah, no,
stuff.
It looked fun. I would have gone.
Yeah, but they're back with an album, and it's on Ipecac, which is appropriate. That's like the home for weird, not just weird music, but like
I would say like-minded weirdos from the 90s. That seems like a good place for Ipecac artists.
Yeah. So where we left off on our full episode was, well, we both, and I think most people believe Blue, their last album, was their worst. I didn't have too many fond memories about Blue. I do think it wasn't like terrible. And I remember feeling quite strongly that like, oh, there was like moments here where if they kept going, they were going to go into a new direction. It would have been interesting to see. But I was really bummed out with like the EP before that, the self-titled EP, just because like you hear like the disconnect and like where something is going wrong and where they just weren't in it anymore. So 26 years have passed. They have a new album. It's coming out on September 13th. So 3 days from now, after watching this, the day this drops. What do you think, Alex?
I kind of felt, I think it's appropriate they're on Ipecac because there are times where it felt, or not the same sound, but in spirit, similar to that Faith No More reunion album, where it's like, okay, this is still Jesus Lizard, but they're different. They're older. This is probably the most fun they've sounded. I did give Blue a once over to this kind of like a quick once over, this to like, okay, this is where we left off, and then this is where we are now. And yeah, I was surprised at how fun it was. There's elements of garage rock in here. It is almost a tale of two halves, because I think the second half of the album gets a little meaner, gets a little nastier, not exactly in their glory days, but it's there.
Yeah, I was like Sol Invictus by Faith No More. Check out our episode on Faith No More. Even if you're of the camp of our history guy, Tom, hello, Tom, you should all go support and follow Tom. Even if you're of his camp of of hating that album, I was delighted by that album and felt it to be a relief. Like, oh yeah, there was a reunion, but thank God it's good. I feel the exact same way about this. By the way, this was gifted us. This was given to us by Monica from Speakeasy PR. So big thanks to Monica. Big thanks to Tom for hooking everything up and doing all the connections and all that stuff. I'm very, very grateful to hear this in advance. But relieved. Like within like the first three tracks, I was like, oh, okay, all right, it's pretty cool. Like it's significantly more than a good chunk of like their last few records. And I don't think it's perfect, of course, but man, there's something that's on here that made me almost jump for joy. And that is Duane Denison's fucking riffs are back. Man, he's been like one of my favorite guitar players forever because of his the arpeggio stuff that he does, especially when you look at like the first 3 G's Lizard albums. I mean, they're just such twisted fucking riffs, really bizarre, really twangy, but in a very unsettled and twisted, sinister way. You know, he came up playing like Southern kind of stuff, but it doesn't sound Southern at all. And so it's more like the way he plays. And that sort of, I found that not disappearing, but really, really lessening with every successive Tomahawk album. So like at the beginning, I'm ranting too much now already, but if you look at the first couple Tomahawk albums, you hear like a lot of his style, but you hear it a little bit more stripped down and straightforward, more like rock oriented. And then with each Tomahawk album, it gets more and more just like he still has some of his trademark kind of style stuff there, but it gets more and more straightforward. And here it's like a split of the two. You get like the straightforward rock riffs on a bunch of these songs, and then you get some fucked up, insanely amazing, crazy ass riffs.
I think to me, the highlight of the album and like the highest of highs is the closer.
Really?
I love the interplay between the bass playing and the guitar playing on there. It's just like, that's the stuff. Like, I don't know. It's just great. This felt good to my soul. And then features the lyric, I want to bust the nut and go on a killing spree. And it's like, man, this album really ended on a high note.
It's a fantastic song. It's one of the best songs here. One of my favorites on here, Swan the Dog. And so that's a perfect example of like the highs that this album goes in ways that they've never done before, because they've done a lot of what they've done before, but they're also doing a good chunk of something kind of new, a very natural evolution in what we would expect, like a further along Jesus Lizard to sound. So that's your favorite. My favorite, like easy favorite, is What If.
Okay.
I mean, I fucking adore that song. As soon as it came out, I was like, fuck yes, they're back. Hell yes. These messed up, twisted riffs throughout the whole thing. But so What If, the closer, Swan the Dog, Alexis Feels Sick. These are like my favorite songs in the album because they're all doing something they haven't done before. It's not unheard of with Jesus Lizard. It's not like we can't believe it's a Jesus Lizard. It sounds like them, but it's also what they haven't done before.
Yeah, that's interesting. You noted Alexis Feels Sick, because I feel like that's when the album takes a turn where it starts getting a little rough around the edges there. Like that's the song where it's kind of like clicking over, and David Yow really doesn't sound that deranged until we get to that song.
He's pretty contained on here. Even after that, there's plenty. He's really a lot more normal. They're all older now, and he's not going to be swallowing the microphone like he used to. But that's okay, because there's other stuff here. Like I'm not used to hearing Yow singing. So on Grind, when that whole section where he's singing, and it sounds really cool. It's bizarre. It's not like we've heard people sing before. It's not like nothing revolutionary, but for them, holy shit, that's something that's unusual.
Yeah, I had that same revelation you had on the song before that on Arsenic Day or Veterans Day.
Or Armistice.
Yeah, very like Melvins-esque riffs, and then you have these more sung vocals, which it's this crazy. It's more of this like groovy sludge stuff. Very, very cool to hear.
Very cool song too. I don't love it, the pacing choice of it, because it's track 2 and it slows things way, way, way down. But it's a great song, and it does pick itself up as it goes on. And like the opener, Hide and Seek. That's like it's still one of the more straightforward songs on the album, because there's a good chunk of like straightforward songs, but it's a nice little half and half, because the main riffs aren't like the most riveting thing ever. It's like I said, it's straightforward, but then you get these really incredible leads, and that's where Duane he stole my heart once again. I think he's like the highlight of the whole album, although everyone sounds great, but his leads are they're so fucked up. They're so unusual. It's like the solos that he does in here. It's something that I was missing with like even as early as Liar, or like there's still great guitar lines on there, but there's a lot of missing of the really paranoid, unsettled schizo sounding riffs. There's a lot of that on here, even on straightforward songs that seem like, it's just a rock riff. All of a sudden this weird ass solo comes in. Yeah,
that's exactly what Hide and Seek was. It really caught me off guard. I think that's like the most garage rock influenced. And yeah, it has these like spooky lyrics. It did kind of catch me off guard for a Jesus Lizard song, but yeah, once those off note guitar riffs come in, or solos, that signature like Jesus Lizard playing people are looking for, you're like, okay, they still got it.
It's comfy. It's really comfy, honestly, because there's stuff that like I'm not super big on. Like my least favorite track on the album is Falling Down, which it just feels too straightforward for me.
It did feel also like very similar in tone to Alexis Feels Sick. This kind of
really.
You know what? I did like around 2 minutes, 13 seconds. There was a part where it's kind of like the Wipers a little bit. I thought that was a cool part of Falling Down.
On Falling Down. Oh yeah, I haven't thought about the Wipers in a while, actually. Check out an episode from a long, long time ago. It's
weird how much like I neglect them. Like there are times where I'm like, I don't know what to listen to. I should throw on the Wipers, but I don't. But their sound is just so ingrained in my head. When I hear something similar to it, this like a light bulb goes off. The like Wipers light bulb goes off.
That's how I felt, completely unrelated, about in the Court of the Crimson King.
Oh, okay.
Where what's the Wiper song? It might be, I think it's No Fair.
Okay, it's been a long time. Didn't come prepared to talk about the Wipers.
Sorry, I heard the song No Fair by the Wipers a million gajillion times before in the Court of the Crimson King. So when I finally heard the King Crimson album, the main riff in the Court of the Crimson King is like half of the big long bridge section in No Fair, which I think is unbelievable. So whenever I hear the King Crimson song, I just can't. I'm always thinking of Wipers every single time.
And even though the King Crimson one was first,
it was way first. It was way first, and I like the Wipers song way, way more. And it's like, I mean, that album's still great, but whatever. Anyway, yeah, Alexis Feels Sick. Even though it's not quite as wild as What If or Swan the Dog, it still has that paranoia that I'm really enjoying from their, I don't want to say new style because it's not that, it's just what's on this album that's never been on the previous Jesus Lizard album. Because you got these little palm-muted spy guitars with these drum clicks and this kooky bass line. It's like I said before, you'd recognize it as something Jesus Lizard would do, but I don't have too many examples of when they did it. And then on the same song, the riff that follows that is this big catchy thing that reminds me that of something that would be off of Liar. So it's like, I just love it. It's one of the singles out right now. I fucking love it.
Talking about excellent guitar playing and some of the best riffs on the album, Dunning-Kruger has some great riffage there.
Oh yeah, love the song title too. But
I thought it would be a little more because there's some, it's Jesus Lizard. There's some funny lyrics. I've already cited one. I thought this one may have some clever ones like that. Although I do like how he closes out the song by saying, "And I urge you to take it personally." What a baller lyric.
It's a surprisingly vague song lyrically.
Yeah.
Although Jesus Lizard have definitely gone vague in wild and abstract with Yow's lyrics, but that one with a title of that straightforward and that on the notes, you think there'd be a little bit more, but it seems a little bit more abstract. But it's, another one with another crazy strong solo. But it has a lot of the same kind of energy as Falling Down, like Falling Down, Dunning-Kruger, and Motor. They all kind of have the same type of energy.
It does. Motor out of those ones is to me the most spastic.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's also out of those three songs, it's the one song that brings in some of those fun garage rock elements that are more in the first half of the album.
Yeah, it's definitely more garagey, but even with the straightforward songs, for songs like that, you hear Duane doing these ugly ass, I'll just call them Duane chords, these ugly ass chords that are just, tritones or something, just wrong note chords that have become pretty synonymous with Jesus Lizard and just him in general, because you hear a lot of that in Tomahawk. But speaking of Tomahawk, the most jarring thing with this album was just how much his guitar sounds like Tomahawk guitars. Because there's been a whole bunch of those albums in between. I've heard more. That's like the most recent Duane stuff I've heard. And his guitar tone isn't like wildly different than the early days, but it has changed over the years. So now you hear, oh yeah, this is his fucking tone now, and it's such a great goddamn tone. He's also one of the camp that uses electric guitar company guitars, along with Buzz, along with fucking Aaron Turner. Like I want one of those goddamn guitars. They're very expensive and they're made out of pure aluminum, but goddamn, they are cool.
Worth every penny. Very interesting to hear how a band after Jesus Lizard has like impacted their sound. He's probably played in Tomahawk just as long as Jesus Lizard now.
At this point, yeah, not as frequent, of course, but it's about 20 something years. Actually, 25 years at this point. But I forget how old Tomahawk is. It's crazy.
Everything's old now. Everything's old.
I remember when they were like the new. It's so fucking depressing. I wasn't listening to them when they reformed, but I remember when they were like, oh, they just released their third album. Holy crap! But
yeah, when I saw Mastodon after their set, Braun was talking about how cool it was that he walked into Best Buy and saw his album and the Lamb of God album like in a big box store, and then he went on a rant about like what the fuck happened to Best Buy, and he like acknowledged that there may be people who had no idea in the audience that like Best Buy used to sell fucking music.
That's right. I forgot. They barely sell movies now.
They don't.
They officially
they stopped. That is where I got a lot of my music from. On Tuesdays, I believe albums used to come out on Tuesdays. If you bought it new, you could maybe get it for $10. So like I I loved Tuesdays, and I would just take a chance sometimes and be disappointed. But
fucking Grandpa Mike and Alex coming back with me back in my day when things were better and you had to go to the store for our music.
Yeah, I don't think it was better, but
I think it was better. I think it was less convenient by every metric. And
yeah, there was a charm to it, but yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's just crazy.
Yeah, definitely. So, only track we haven't talked about it is That Your Hand, which is a little bit more bitter and paranoid compared to Motor and Dunning-Kruger before it.
Yeah, it's driven by chugs. It's the most 90s sounding song on the album. If for some people, for some fans, if they're chasing that 90s high, I would say that's the song to go to right there.
I didn't even think about 90s. Interesting.
There was something about the way it sounded where I'm like, they like transported back in time with that one.
Ooh,
we also have not talked about Lord Godiva.
Oh yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
Ugly riffs, but with a fun bar rock southern twang or something.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree with that. And there's this quick bass solo in there. And it's just another song that caught me off guard. I just wasn't expecting to have a handful of songs where I'm like, this is fun.
Yeah, it's one of the more fun songs there. I completely forgot about the bass solo, and it's nothing. The way music has evolved to or production has evolved to accommodate bass solos has been very, very impressive in the last 10 years. Because
I think before it would have maybe sounded out of place or forced, and it's just part of the song.
Yeah, because my brain always just goes back to The Philosopher by Death, where it's like, you could barely tell it's happening, and it just feels off, even though the rest of the song is amazing. But yeah, it's great. Yeah, there was one thing I was reading with the press kit about the vocals to What If, and how Yow didn't know how to sing to it, like he didn't know what to do, and I think Duane said just talk, and it's one of the coolest vocal performances that I've heard Yow do ever, because he's done plenty of mumbling, homeless, crazy guy stuff, all kinds, but that one is way more he's not the crazy guy. He's looking at the crazy guy, and he's it somehow feels a lot meaner and darker with him just speaking quietly and hushed like that. It's something. Yeah, it fits spectacularly well with the actual crazy riffs of the song, but it's a cool delivery, and it's unlike anything else on the album, so it stands out even more.
Yeah, as a pro wrestling fan, I call that the Jake the Snake Roberts delivery. Where,
absolutely, he's Jake the Snake on there.
Yeah, Jake the Snake was the one bad guy wrestler who didn't need to yell at you. He was this very deliberate and cunning, and had a smoky voice. And yeah.
Scary guy,
even in his 70s. Fucking horrifying dude
rules.
R.I.P. Psycho Sid, or Sid Vicious.
Oh, did he die?
He did pass away at time of recording. He's passed away recently.
The best promos, the best acting, the best memes, fucking sound bites. He's the best.
Dude, also, a lot of people call themselves things in wrestling, but there was just something in that dude's eyes where I'm like, no, he is psycho. If you saw him on the street, you'd be like, I don't know, is his name Psycho Sid? You'd be right. You'd be right.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Yeah, after hearing this, it was, like I said earlier, it was a relief, but it was also, I've felt drawn to listen to it again. I was excited to listen to it again. When I listened to it again, I'm excited to hear it again. Which means not only did I enjoy it enough to feel pleasant on the first couple listens, but I feel like it's going to grow on me more. Because I songs like Falling Down, the weakest point of the album for me, but I didn't mind it nearly as much on second listen. And I liked songs like Alexis Feel Sick and Swallowing the Dog more on second listen. So there's something about the flow of it, even though I don't think it's perfectly paced. It's refreshing. It's not like, it's not depressing. Like I was expecting to be depressed because I've heard Jesus Lizard where it's like, oh, that's the Jesus Lizard. That's definitely them. But there's something missing in these songs. And it's just making me kind of bummed out because they're one of the greatest fucking bands ever. And the highs that they reach for me in my life has been really unreachable. And then, so this is making me feel pretty good.
Yeah. You always run that risk with reunion albums, and there's like a kind of like hitting it out of the park thing, like, with Tribe Called Quest, their last album, hopefully ever. And then there's things where like you didn't feel strongly about Old Man Stooges, and everything in between, half this bullshit like Jeff Lynne's ELO, and this is not it. Like it's just. Like I said, the closest thing I can compare it to is that Faith No More album.
Yeah, it definitely feels like that to me.
They don't even it's just more like spiritually they're on the same page.
Exactly. I got the same feeling after it of like, oh, cool. Like there's shit on here that I think is among their best stuff ever. And that, if you can do that with a reunion album, fuck yeah. Even if the rest of it isn't like, monumental. If you can pull out a couple, in this case, for me, it's like 3. Yeah, like what I feel like my favorite Jesus Lizard songs ever. Yeah, fuck yeah, I'll take it.
Also going back to the notes from the presser, I'm really glad they acknowledged Jordan Peele having a character where Jesus Lizard, like, man, that who
was it? Nope.
And Nope, yes. I don't know who is in charge of that character's shirts, but like he had the fucking raddest shirts, like Sleep, Jesus Lizard, Rage. I think there was like a few other ones. I was like, yeah, this is why representation matters. We need more sludge and noise.
Yes, 100 fucking percent. That's funny because that was in the same like quote. Duane was talking about that he's kind of seeing like a resurgence in noise or aggressive noisy rock music and he name dropped Idols and Swans. It's like, I mean, like, Idols are fucking huge now. Check out an episode of their most recent album. And Swans, he's like, he said it was crowded with mostly younger people. And last time I saw them, there's obviously old timers in there, but a lot more young people than you think. And yeah, it's with the internet, you're going to have that.
Yeah. It's crazy to also hear him talk about Rancid and NoFX and the Offspring. Like,
because at the time of Jesus Lizard, though, they were fucking huge.
Oh yeah, but it's kind of crazy that there will be a point where there's probably resurgence in things, and there will be no reunions to be had. Like, how do you mean? Like, these members are going to be not like Jesus, but like, maybe like 30 years from now, if there's like all these people getting into Swans, there's not going to be a Swans in 30 years.
Yeah.
Like, it's this. So yeah, I almost wonder like if rock music kind of goes like the orchestra way, if there's going to be like really dedicated musicians to just like executing these like swans. You can't really do it flawlessly, but in this, I mean,
spirit.
Way back when we talked about how there are, a handful of people who like dedicate their lives to trying to play Beefheart stuff flawlessly. So
yeah. It's wild. And the thing is, you don't even have to recreate it. All you have to do is just take something from it and then build something new. And that's how these bands exist to begin with. And that's how we have crazy ass great bands like fucking Ken Mode and Chat Pile and whoever the fuck else that's putting out like newer bands where, who they're inspired by, but they don't sound exactly like them. I hope to God it keeps going in that direction.
Maybe that's like the rock resurgence, like, when there's no bands left to be reunited and people want it live, they'll have to create something new too.
Yeah, and I don't think that energy is going anywhere, even if rock music, because rock music died on the mainstream, but some of the greatest things ever have been made in the underground since.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I'm not one of those people who think you made the joke like things used to be better back in the day, like no, there's so much good music. It's kind of like I have the best of both worlds, like these throwback bands and the like future, which we get excited about at the end of every year. We talk about.
I mean, just jumping a little ahead to the end of the year. This year is going to be maybe the toughest of all the year-end episodes we've ever done. I mean, this year's fucking nuts.
It's crazy so far. I need to start compiling and organizing my list so I'm like ready to go. I'm not rushing, but
yeah, I'm a little worried about how we'll have to cut. Yeah,
it's going to be a fun one because there's this I forgot that Idols album came out this year. That's just how deep we're into it now. So I need those reminders. Like, oh shit, that Idols album came out this year. The Chelsea Wolfe album came out. Fucking Beth Gibbons.
Beth Gibbons, yep. And so many great albums that we've just discussed on this pod alone. I mean, Jesus Christ.
There's things we haven't discussed because we don't have time, but maybe next year we've talked about maybe fixing that, maybe getting ahead of that a little.
Coming ahead, folks.
Yeah.
But, I like this quote from David Yow where he boils down the behavior of like their live performances in such a very succinct and fun way. He says, each one of us is just going to do what we do. David will look like he's really pissed off about something, very accurate if you've seen him live. Duane will look like he's not sure if he's gay or just not feeling well. Mac will be chewing a very large piece of air and I'll be acting like an idiot. Such funny dudes, man.
Yeah, that quote is like the Jesus lizard in a nutshell, I think.
100%. I've never seen anybody on stage look more unapproachable than David Sims. I mean, holy fucking shit.
He's dead to me now, but Scott, I like Scott.
Oh,
and I know why. Because
he was dead inside.
He was a literal psychopath. And then I would say young Brent Hines was also terrifying.
Really?
Not anymore. Yeah, there's a performance of them playing Mother Puncture, and this has like the craziest fucking face, and he doesn't make those faces anymore.
Good. I hope like the beatings and the drug use and the recovery all like made him a little bit soft, because he like seems like a really funny, sweet guy.
No, he is. I'm just saying like the way his face was on stage. I would say Al from Sleep also kind of. There's something about him that
he seems a little. Yeah. You're right.
Kind of scary.
It's a little bit scary, a little bit unapproachable, but very high, which I think kind of counteracts a little
balances.
Bit.
Also, shout out to Aaron Turner, also very scary. You put it in a confined space with that man. It's not comfortable.
He is very scary, especially if he's walking by you to grab water. He's very scary. But
I'm sure he's a good guy.
No,
though.
I think he's I knew someone who knew him and said a lot of nice things. But he's also a fucking amazing ass musician. But yeah,
I thought you were just gonna say he has an amazing ass.
He's got great ass. Yeah, but is it going to be your favorite Jesus Lizard album? Probably not. But goddamn, I enjoy the hell out of it, and I was
probably not a fan maker, as you say. But who knows?
I think there's select tracks on here that could do it though. Also, before I forget, this is easily one of my favorite cover arts of all their albums. I mean, goddamn.
I like how it still feels very canon. Like
extremely.
This feels right. It's not so far out of like left field or totally different. Like it does this feel like it would come out immediately after Blue.
It looks, because actually, if I remember correctly, Blue is like the one that didn't look at all canon. That's like really the sore thumb of the whole discography. But when we having the band name vertically on the side, that's one thing. But man, it's just such a striking cover. I fucking absolutely. I mean, it might be my favorite album cover of the year. I mean, I love it.
I haven't thought that far ahead yet.
That's a whole other episode of just
that.
all right.
Yeah,
cover
I'm sure
art.
we'll bring it up.
Yeah. But check it out. Huge thanks to Monica at Speakeasy. Huge thanks to Tom for putting all these things in motion. Yeah, this is coming out in a few days. Fucking yeah, listen to it. God damn it. And I'm sure that we'll not need to remind fans of this band that this album is coming out. But yeah, also it's not a huge thing, but this is produced and engineered by Paul Allen, and it doesn't sound exactly like the Albini stuff, but obviously not. But it definitely is lively. It's kind of channeling some of that. I don't really imagine Jesus Lizard ever being a really produced band. They're just the band. So it captures that very nicely. It was mastered by Howie Weinberg, who's we've talked about in the past, who's mastered almost every album ever made. It's pretty insane.
Insane. Fucking started off with Herbie Hancock, and now he's working with Jesus Lizard.
It's fucking nuts, man. It was recorded in Nashville. Yeah, I didn't think about that. That makes sense. I think that's what we're doing is now mostly. I mean, I could just be misremembering, but I do believe I read that. Anyway, check it out. Thanks so much for hanging out and listening and watching and all that. If you like us, hang out further, subscribe, like the video. If you don't like us, tell us why we're stupid in the comments. It's all good. It all helps us one way or another. You can follow me on all social media at PandaMonkey and Alex on Instagram at
Every Album Alex.
And be sure to follow our history guy, Tom Osman, at Tom Osman Sounds on all social media, as well as TomOsmanSounds.com for all his music and his podcast, whatever comes next, where he interviews a bunch of indie musicians. And you can find links to all that in the description. Check out my EP. There's a link to that in the description as well. And last but not least, patreon.com/everyalbumever. That's where you go. You get 2 bonus episodes a month. You get to see our schedules in advance. You get to vote on polls to decide who we cover next. You get to join our Discord and be a part of our community. You get to suggest new albums that came out this year that if you want to do an episode on, throw it out to us. We'll probably do an episode on it. And if you're tier 2, if you're bigger than Jesus, then you can suggest a full discography for our bigger, longer numbered episodes. And in addition to a full discography, you can also suggest any amount of bonus episodes. So any album from any band ever, we'll do a bonus episode on it. It's good stuff, fun stuff. Go there, do that, please, and thank you. Wrapping it up, we got 3 singles to choose from. We got Hide and Seek, Alexis Feels Sick, and Motor.
Well, I think Alexis was your favorite, so we can go with that.
Let's do that. Hell yeah. So thank you so much for listening and watching. See ya.